Today's guest is Brian Benoit, the Director of Pedagogical Affairs for the Laurier Teachers Union, an elected position where he works on issues related to pedagogy, special needs, teacher support, professional development, and educational policy. Brian also brings many years of experience as a teacher in both the elementary and secondary schools, and in higher education, having taught both pre-service and practicing teachers at several universities, with a strong commitment to supporting the teaching profession through both advocacy and teacher education. Good morning, Brian. Welcome.
Good morning.
Brian, I'm really excited when I heard about this project that you took the time to initiate. I was really, it's something that warmed my heart. So I would love you to tell us about the shout outs, reconnaissance d'un collègue, d'une collègue. Tell us about this.
Well, I think really when we look at it, there's a clear need for initiatives that help teachers feel like they matter, because research, large scale, local, and international, suggests that when teachers feel underappreciated or undersupported, their job satisfaction declines and their likelihood of wanting to leave the profession increases. So in that context, creating opportunities or ways to recognize teachers, affirm their contribution, strengthen their sense of belonging is not simply symbolic. It's one that's a meaningful way to support well-being, professional commitment, and retention. So when we're talking specifically about the shout outs, basically it's a simple but meaningful opportunity for teachers to be recognized for things that they do every day that usually go unnoticed.
Yes.
I guess you could say it shines a light on the quiet, consistent ways teachers support one another without it could be by listening, helping, encouraging, stepping in, or simply being there. So basically, now that I've set the context, a couple times a year, teachers have an opportunity to go online. They're provided with a link, and they can just nominate a colleague just by presenting a short description of why they're nominating them. It could be because they helped them carry books, they brought them coffee, they asked them how they're doing. They're always there to be counting on. Essentially, the way that we need to think about it, or the way that I look at it, is it's just an easy and efficient way for teachers to let one another know that they are heard, they're valued, and that their presence has an impact.
Yeah.
And there's no particular category of intensity. It's important to know that when we're talking about the shout outs, it's not about a teacher necessarily changing another person's life. It's not about that. It's just about being recognized.
Yes.
Those that are nominated often get a personalized certificate recognizing that they have been nominated.
Okay.
And beyond the prize, because we choose two winners, which the initiative is really about making sure that teachers know that they are there for one another.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, how did you come up with this idea? Because it's so simple. It's not something that costs a lot of money, but yet I can see how if someone being nominated, how that can totally like just pivot their day and make it like so beautiful. So how did you come up with this idea?
I began this initiative in my current role, elected role, I should say, as Director of Pedagogical Affairs for the Laurier Teachers Union. And I wanted to find a way to create positive change that would be both simple and effective for teachers. So the idea basically was inspired by something a colleague had posted on a school bulletin board.
Okay.
And I remember getting into the classroom, the staff room, and just sitting down. And I looked up at the bulletin board, and there's a little section called shout outs. And there were little post-its everywhere. And I thought, how could I build on this idea in a way that I could reach more teachers?
Yes,
So
in your role, of course. Of course.
as teachers, we often borrow things. And
Yes.
so I'll borrow this idea. And now that I was in this elected position and I had an opportunity to reach out with more teachers, well, the first thing I did is I asked permission of my direct supervisor, my president, and then I launched what was essentially the first version of the shoutouts. I sent an email to all teachers. I invited them to nominate a colleague. I gave an example. There was a very simple starting point, just a chance for teachers to recognize one another. And from there, it continued to grow. And then we move into shout outs. There was shout outs 1, shout outs 1.2. And since then, we've organized several rounds each year. And I'd have to verify the exact number, I believe we're at about 8 now, over
Okay.
about 3.5 years.
Okay.
And basically, Judy, this is really how the initiative began, from a small idea rooted in, call it, in teacher recognition and a desire to really make this more large scale because of my collegiality and my support for my colleagues. And what's important here is I use numbers like 3, 3.1, 6.0 rather than a date. And
Oh,
because
okay.
we want every round to feel timeless.
Ah,
For every edition, I try to ensure that every nominated member receives a personalized certificate, simply acknowledging that someone has shown that they matter. So even if you don't win, and
yes.
also I do not include the name of the person who nominated them,
Okay.
because the focus is not on who submitted the nomination, but on the fact that they had an impact on someone, on a
Yeah.
fellow teacher. Because we often talk about belonging, but knowing that you matter is something deeper. And I believe that we need more of that. It's not about dates or how long somebody has been teaching. I
Yeah.
want a teacher to look at that certificate 5 years from now and not think that was 5 years ago. I want them to feel that they mattered then and they still matter now. That's
Yes.
the connection. And it was interesting because although I've been doing this for the last 4 years, since I've been elected. It's only recently at the LCEEQ conference a
Okay.
month ago that the theme of mattering and the presentations by plenary speakers such as Dr. Gordon Flett gave research-based vocabulary to something I had already been trying to foster for the
Ah.
past couple of years, the concept of mattering, because we
Mm,
all know we belong to something, but mattering is what keeps us going.
yes.
So,
Of
you know,
course.
I guess
Of course. And what's the participation level like? Are there a lot of teachers within the Sir Wilfrid Laurier School Board who participate in this initiative that you've put together?
so participation has varied and it's been positive. So from the beginning, about a quarter of our teacher members have taken part, either by nominating a colleague or by being nominated themselves, which
Okay.
I think is exceptional.
Yes, indeed. That's a big number.
And what also has stood out over time is that the nominations are not limited to a small group of teachers always nominating each other.
Okay.
Change, which shows that recognition is spread across different colleagues, different departments, different schools, elementary, high school, vocational, and that teachers are having a meaningful impact on the other teachers around them. And to me, really, this is one of the strengths of this initiative. It suggests that it's not just about highlighting only those visible people, but
Right.
about creating a space for a wide range of teachers to be acknowledged for the everyday ways they support one another. Anyway, that's the key to it.
That's amazing. So, okay, I'm curious. Tell us about some of the most, or not most, because I'm sure they all are, but some of the memorable ones that you have seen throughout the years.
So I mean, I can think of some specific ones that I'll find them right here, but like basically some of the most memorable ones have been the ones that highlight the quiet human
Ah,
side of teaching, the acts that care and support that are rarely formalized, but that
hmm.
can make an enormous difference in someone's day. And also what stands out the most often are teachers who recognize one another, not only for their instructional excellence, because I think we're all excellent,
Yeah.
but for kindness, generosity, mentorship, humor, encouragement, and simply being there when things are difficult. It's a particular skill. And for example, some shout outs describes colleagues as helping them with the everyday tasks. They helped me carry something. They
Right.
helped me make copies. They helped me print. They told me where to print. They told me how the copier works, how to touch it the right way so it works.
Yes.
Answering the endless questions that they have. Others speak of those deeper sense of supports, mentoring, listening without judgment, helping colleagues through those chaotic moments at the copier, for example. The check-in is clear, is very important. Opening their classrooms to their colleagues when the support is needed, and creating that sense of calm and belonging. And it makes me think of those teachers that I had. So a few of these comments are especially powerful because they show just how much teachers do for one another behind the scenes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
We're talking specifically about the comments. So I have some over here.
Okay.
One of them is, and I'm quoting here, and I might be editing the names, because for confidentiality, but I'm nominating him because the way that they checked in on me, they supported me, they made time for me when I needed them, and they reminded me that I matter too.
Mm.
Another comment, always ready to listen and checks in on me often. Another one, she has a way of making people feel supported, comforted, and valued just by being herself. I know I can always count on you. I could not do it without her. She is the heart of the school.
Oh.
Without her, we are lost. And maybe one last one is she's able to make others around her feel comfortable, heard, and matter. And I guess what also makes the shout outs memorable is their range. Some are deeply moving, while others are simply joyful, like
Yes.
friends and colleagues laughing. There are sometimes little jokes in it. Staff members baking for others, because together they paint a picture of a school community of teachers in which impact is not measured by major achievements, but
Right.
by the everyday instances that make being part of a school community is so important, and to remove that isolation, which connects to that idea of mattering. The
Yeah.
most memorable shout outs to me are the ones that remind us that teaching is never done in isolation.
That's
Every school community of teachers, there is compassion, consistency, and generosity, which makes a long lasting impact on all the teachers in that school.
that's so beautiful. I heard a lot of people indicating someone came in to check on me. This person comes in. So we can't underestimate those. Sometimes we think, you know what, they're busy. I'm not going to bother. But taking a small moment to do something like that can really have a major impact. I love that. Okay, Brian. So this is something that it grew from something you saw in your school, and now you've done it now for all the Laurier Teachers Union members. What would you recommend to somebody who said, "Look, I'd like to start something similar. I'm a teacher. Maybe I want to start this in my school. Maybe they're a local union initiative." What would you say to someone who wants to start something similar?
Well, if you're going to do it in your school or your department, then the easiest way is just find a place, a bulletin board in the staff room,
Yeah.
take some little post-it notes, and just start reserve a place saying shout outs, and just put on, you don't have to sign your name, just write, I
Yes.
thank Brian for listening to me. And then it kind of, positivity kind of breeds positivity. So I recommend starting simple
Mhm.
and making it as easy as possible for others to participate, because teachers are busy.
Yes.
So in the shout outs, you get a link or a QR code, you go online, you fill out a couple of questions, that's it, you submit, nothing else to do. It's like completely and it almost takes a minute to do. One of the reasons something like this can work is because it doesn't require that complicated process. If
Yes.
you can quickly nominate a colleague, you're more likely to do it, because
Yes.
the likelihood is that you are busy. And I also remember or recommend being clear about the purpose from the beginning.
Okay.
This isn't about creating alliances. It's not about that. It's not about creating something that's not there. It's about recognizing what's being done. Because I believe in this particular situation, it should feel genuine and accessible. I don't provide, um, as I mentioned before, that who's nominating you. If
Yeah.
somebody's really curious, they can contact me and I'll let them know, because it's not about that.
Right.
So, and a question a question that I get is, well, what happens if somebody's nominated several times? And it doesn't happen that often. It's just
You get
everybody
it
seems to be
right.
supporting. Right. In some cases, it has happened out of 230 people in one particular event. One person was nominated three times for different reasons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll
Interesting.
just give them a phone call and let them know.
Oh,
And I think also it's important so this is a teacher initiative, but teachers are very generous and they like to recognize other forums, other groups of people,
yes.
consultants,
Yes.
and so I'll let them know they're not part of the general draw, because this is really a teacher initiative, but and it's not about the prize.
That's
The
right. That's almost symbolic, right? It's
Yeah.
just,
And
yeah.
there's no cost to it, because I found an external sponsor over the time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it doesn't cost the union anything. So really, it's an initiative where it does, I do take time to prepare the personalized certificates that the nominees get, and that can be kind of time consuming, but it's also a way for me to continue to see what's going on because I get to see the comments and
Yes.
it makes my day better. So most importantly, I would say do not overthink it.
Yeah.
Start with what is manageable,
Mm-hmm.
see how people respond, and let it grow.
Yes.
Even that small initiative in your staff room, as the teacher I told you where I borrowed the idea from, can
Mm-hmm.
have that meaningful impact because it helps us feel seen, valued, and appreciated by our teacher colleagues.
Yes. I love that so much. And I have to say, I saw an example of the form that you've created, and it is so simple. And that's a big thing too, because if it's not, I'm sure people would kind of keep it and say, okay, when I have time, I'm going to look at this. But literally, if it takes you a minute to do it, that's doable. Anybody can do that. So I love that. I think that's great advice. And you know what's interesting, Brian? Like these initiatives, when I speak to teachers, they're always surprised when they say, well, get connected. Well, my project's not really that big. That's the beauty of it. Okay, big things are wonderful. That's great, but really, in my opinion, it's the small, kind gestures in your everyday work life that have the most impact. So, I really applaud you on what you're doing, and I thank you for bringing this forward. When I approached you, I'm like, Brian, and you're like, well, I have this idea. The same type of thing. It's not a big deal, but I'm like, it is a big deal. So. I
Yeah.
really appreciate the fact that you're sharing this with us and for taking the time to speak to us this morning.
And I appreciate these initiatives, Judy. The Get Connected has been very inspirational to myself as well, and hearing what's going across, what's occurring in other schools. And I think really what's important is it's not about the people who are creating the projects. I think all of the people understand that it's about all of us and the collective good. And
Yeah,
if more teachers understand the impact they're having on their colleagues, they're more likely to form that resilience that they need to just get by and to ask for help.
yeah,
That's important.
that
Not
is
that
so
teachers
huge.
have to stay on at any, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're supported, you're heard, and you matter, period.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.